Hello and welcome to this session, The Person of the Therapist. Now, in this series, we're really opening up to take a look at how therapists enter the field. What about their life world brought them to the qualities and to the understandings that they finally bring to clients? And I'm very happy to introduce my guest today, Roanne Samuels. And Roanne, I'd like to begin with getting a ground on your background in terms of your professional background, but also what you've been doing. You've been in the field for a number of decades, and it would, I think, let's get a ground then of who you are, some of that grounding that will help us understand first what you're doing right now, because I know we're gonna look at layers of the kinds of works that you've been doing cross-culturally, internationally, and in your home base now. So welcome.
Thank you,
Yes.
Dr. D.
Yeah.
I think something's amiss if I don't mention that I was born and raised in the Philippines. So I'm an immigrant. And for some of your viewers who are may or may not be familiar with the Filipino culture, it's a very collectivistic culture. And in general, we speak with our bodies more. Um, and so my inclination as a therapist is I'm finding myself integrating more the Western and the Eastern philosophies,
Mhm.
listening to what they would say, wisdom of the ages.
Yes.
So before becoming a therapist, I originally wanted to be an archaeologist. I'm always fascinated with like I would go to the library and then I'll get some books about mythology, um, and so um, life took a different turn. But I've always been interested in
Mm.
becoming a therapist. Initially, I began my work as a teacher for very young kids, a
Mm.
kindergarten teacher.
Mm.
Um, Interestingly, now, maybe I'm going back and forth, but now, aside from being a licensed psychotherapist, I'm also doing research under my PhD research work.
Mhm.
And it's using the sand tray, interestingly,
Mm.
to sort of give breath to the different worldview of the Filipino from the Philippines and the Filipino American, but using the sand tray.
Oh.
Um, Interestingly, I one of my first jobs as an immigrant in America was also a kindergarten teacher. So it's a whole, almost like I don't know, it's by accident or for
Oh.
whatever purpose. It's this whole anthropological experience. I was a teacher in the Eastern world, and then also when I moved to America. So I feel very privileged to have had that um, experience. I think you're asking me about my leaning. I think that's what you.
So you're a counselor? Is that was that would
I
that be the
am a
foundation? Marriage and
marriage
family
fam.
therapist.
Yes, I'm a
I
marriage family
see. And
therapist.
then, yeah, no, this, I'm so appreciating the that you're bringing us closer to, let's pay attention to culture and the brilliant and rich contributions that multicultural and difference can bring. And also the circle of working with the very littles in kindergarten, and then bringing that full circle to an understanding of the archaeology and the playfulness in the sand that you're working with. But please, what how would you describe your theoretical orientation? I hear the Eastern and Western integration there. A little bit more on that.
Yeah, I think I infuse maybe parts of depth psychology, like very Jungian.
Mhm.
Um, in fact, I have my own projective cards that I created. They're called cultura cards, like culture cards, but they're
Ah,
inspired by the Filipino culture. Um, so I use lots of different imagery. Um, I am touched by, I'm also a clinical hypnotherapist. So the work of Milton Erickson fascinates me.
yes.
Um, but I think very similar maybe to the leaning on narrative therapy, that the story we
Mhm.
tell ourselves
Mm.
is the most important story. And sometimes the story that we tell ourselves may not be our story. It could be stories passed on by, our ancestors because it's a story of survival,
Yeah.
or it's a story about culture that we have believed to be our story. So
Mhm.
I find that my role as a therapist
Mhm.
is, or one of my roles is to, it's almost like we have a blueprint. And maybe our essence is to find our
Mm.
true essence, to return back to ourselves.
Mm.
And because of culture, because of family, we are sometimes given different blueprint, almost like a map, but it could be somebody else's map. And it's kind of like
Mm.
now we are confused, we get lost. And I find that my work as a therapist is, perhaps there are nuggets of blueprints from other people that are useful. And
Mhm.
so it's like almost like a collage. We're like taking apart from our grandmother's blueprint, taken, and then now you bring together this blueprint that's
Mm.
uniquely yours. I feel that that's the artistry
Mm. Mhm.
therapist,
Mhm.
and to be careful that we are not bringing them to our own blueprint, but that whatever is uniquely theirs.
I'm
Um,
reminded of um, the ways that identity are stolen and shame, the ways that culture is affronted, is all the alienation and the stealing away of identity that has been so harmful, generation after generation after generation. So I want to just highlight and underscore in this moment that you're bringing us a scientific attitude. You're bringing us attention to the intimate, in the bone importance of culture. I love that you're bringing this idea of blueprint, and I'm reflecting immediately on DNA. That what I'm hearing from you is your respect and honoring of the cultural DNA and how that evolves. At the same time, we must cope and protect it from the dangers and hazards that are in society, but also that can emerge in therapy. So, and I also want to make sure to remind me to put that to a link into your website so that folks can see where the culture cards are that you've developed. So let's go back to your sense of what qualities as a teacher, as one who attended and cared for the littles, and then my sense of you is how you care for the littles even in your adult clients. That attending. Please let's
yeah.
continue down that.
I want to share that in the Filipino culture, there is a core value called pakikiramdam. And pakikiramdam means deep attunement. It is sensing someone beyond words or even absent of words. And when you're hanging out with children, they're very much into their bodies, very sensorial. And I'm finding that as a therapist, as we all know, people who use the sand or creative expression, that people can be incredibly expressive and yet not have the language to express the deepest woundings of, if I may use the word, soul or
Sure.
psyche. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what I'm learning. And you have mentioned the word play. I am such an advocate for play. I feel like that's what we need, actually, more play. I find myself as a therapist teaching adults to be more playful. And I find that the key is
Mm,
that I continue to hone my playful spirit, because when I'm teaching also other therapists, they feel really, you know, especially when you're working with teenagers, maybe you want to appear a certain way. You want to be cool, use their language. Um, as we do that, I think that's very human.
mhm,
I think that um, the muscle that I hope people practice is the muscle of playfulness,
mhm,
because there's a lot of novelty in play. And there's, as they say, when we play, we feel safe. And when we feel safe, we play. And I
mm,
think that they could not be deconstructed. It's just that we, mammalians, right, are meant to play because we're meant to biologically and neurologically connect with another soul. So,
certainly.
yeah, you could probably hear.
Mm,
I'm also touched by transpersonal psychology, nothing religious, but just
mhm,
that we are beyond our
mhm,
just our
mhm,
bodies and spirit.
mhm,
Um, maybe there's a
mhm,
divine part of us.
mhm, mhm,
Um,
mhm,
is just part of my personhood
mhm,
as a therapist. So just going back to your
mm,
question, I learned to really observe when I am tending to small children, whether I was a
yeah,
teacher or now as a mother, um, to be ever so present. And I find that it is relation first, as we always say, before any technique, any strategy, um, and that yeah, just the deep observation and the presence and witnessing of um, the therapist goes a long, long way. Yeah.
Rowan, let me highlight some of the powerful elements that you're sharing right now. This wholeness, the integrity, holding the integrity of the whole human being, mind, body is fully present, a sense of soul, deep meaning, and the idea of giving permission in a safe way. I really hear how important it is for you that spontaneity and inventiveness of play is is nourished, is held in the nest of safety, and that safety is created by the deep attending presence, the full presence that the clinician must practice outside of therapy and then be their wholeness, their truth, their authentic self in a moment by moment practice that you present. You are the artist. You're an artist, and a very incredibly mindful, culturally conscious, open clinician, and yet at the same time mindful of the importance of holding within that permission protection, safety. Um, Please, what else have you felt strongly about working with your clients that you've become aware? What has pulled you?
Yeah. Um, I have this, it's just a framework for myself. I call it the LEI, like a lay, Hawaiian lay. I
Okay.
find that just changing language, the way we speak. So the L is for language. is also thought is not enough, may not be enough. I hope it's enough, but sometimes it's not enough. So the way we talk to ourselves, and the story that we keep
Yeah.
circulating in our minds, is part of the language. And then the E is experience, is our action, the moment to moment habits that we choose to do or not to do. I is for the imagination. And an example that I give, a visual when I teach sometimes, is that if there's a bridge and one person is here, and underneath the bridge is water, and the person is trying to get to the other side.
Yeah.
So language would be saying to yourself, "Oh my gosh, I'm
Mm,
gonna fall. I'm gonna fall. This will be my my last day." And so imagine how that would affect experience, or also
mhm,
how you imagine things would end up. So I always explain it's like a rotonda, like a, it doesn't matter where you start. The language can influence experience, experience can influence imagination. So experience is sometimes, even if you still talk like, "Oh my gosh, I can't cross the bridge," but you start crossing it slowly,
mhm,
the E can influence the L, and or can influence imagination.
mhm,
Or imagination, still from that example, is if you're thinking underneath there are crocodiles, right? Just lurking and waiting for you. Imagine your response. So I feel that I find that in my the therapy that I um, you know share with others is actually a combination of transforming language, experience, and just imagination. Yeah,
It's a
so
beautiful image, and the honoring of the lei, the beautiful flower lei from Hawaii, uh,
mm,
and then helping us to see the complete connection, the weave that that language, all the metaphors, everything that we say, and then our experience, the memory, and that which we cannot recall, the unconscious memory, and then the thread that brings in imagination, which I so cherish. That imagination can help us cross that bridge, and also feel threatening. And I see the circle of therapy in your therapeutic process with your clients, the 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 full circle of the lay and the coming full circle of supporting those three core ideas therapeutically. Is there something else about your approach before we go into what you've learned from clients? You have infused and integrated a Jungian approach, transpersonal approach, certainly the whole idea of indigenous peoples around the world and their very groundedness of bringing the rhythms of life, of understanding heritage in the ancestors, of honoring and respecting the gifts of the myths and the symbols. Um, I want to return to what it is that you do that you've become aware of with clients. This is because you are developing unique approach, because you are integrating the East and the West. What what would you like to share with us about that?
yeah, I think I've always been a story collector. So I've studied different mythology, the
Mhm.
from Chinese mythology, Greek, and what I find is that by practice, we attune to stories, as they say. I think it's Umberto Eco who mentioned that every story is a story already been told, something to that effect.
Yeah.
I might be butchering that. And so I've by listening, and exposing myself to different stories, I find that by practice, um that I'm listening to the central metaphor of why from the woundings, like, because sometimes clients would come to us, um, and it's kind of, I have a teacher, a hypnotherapist teacher, Mark Terrell, who has mentioned this example, that sometimes clients would come and they'll say, this is actually his story, that he had a client that he's waiting on, and the client did not arrive. And after an hour, he's not there. 2 hours, he starts knocking on his door and go, I'm so sorry, therapist. Something happened with my car. And he goes, um, what happened? And the client started talking about, I don't know. I checked the tires. I checked the coolant. I checked if so he checked
Mhm.
everything he was
Yeah.
complaining about. And so the therapist goes, did you check if there's gas? And the client goes, oh shoot, yeah, I have a teenager son who always borrows my car and forgets to put gas. So I think sometimes our clients come in and they are saying, there's so many things that's really not working with the car.
Yeah.
And
Or
and
with the
usually,
self.
and with the self, right? And if we have the ear, and not to say there's only one thing, but usually there's the central metaphor
Mhm.
of not feeling good enough, or sometimes in
Mhm.
my culture of being too
Mhm.
much. You're too
Mhm.
much.
Mhm.
Um, so I think it lightens the load of the therapist, because I find sometimes that there's consumerism sometimes in therapy, when people say, just give me tools.
Oh,
just so
yes.
many, it's almost
Yes.
so
Yeah.
many tools. And I always tell people, yes, of course I will give you tools. But you will find that you probably would not need as much as you think you do.
Oh.
And but I think that that's not it's just a human phenomena right now, that people are just kind of trying to consume. And I could see that also in the therapy room,
Mm.
um,
Mhm.
where when people, not specifically in but in social media or
Mhm.
whatnot, where everybody's providing
Mm.
tools, which I think is great, because we all need
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
tools just to cope.
Sure.
Um,
There's tools, and then there are real elements that can help.
yeah,
So the mass marketing can fog our attention to what, like the example you just gave, not to think about the gas. I love this metaphor too. I think it's very appropriate, as clients sometimes struggle to, I check this and I check that, and therapists too, we've done
mhm,
all of this. But to come back to what motivates you, what allows, where do you get the energy to keep living, and to keep finding your soul, psyche, meaning. um, Beautiful metaphor. I mean, we could expand on that in terms of adolescence and all of that.
yeah,
But I want to touch incidences, experiences where you were surprised, where what you learned from a client was something that you incorporated and then bring forward in your work. Do you have in mind an example of what you have learned from an example? Of course, we keep confidentiality, but maybe
yeah,
the age and what happened in therapy that allowed you to discover.
yeah. I would say male. I'm thinking about a male
Uh-huh.
client,
An
and
adult. Uh-huh.
adult,
Mm-hmm.
and presenting with. So this is very unique. So I kind of don't want to share very,
No,
but there
don't share
is,
much.
yeah, there's a paranoia that's happening. The male is afraid of connecting with people, cannot work, cannot take kids to school, um, and has been, and is the body is actually creating almost a psychosomatic
Yeah. Uh-huh.
uh,
Mm.
reason for people not to physically get closer.
Mhm. Mm.
Um,
So
what?
a lot of fear there.
Yes, a lot of
Sure.
fear
And
and
some of that probably appropriate fear and some of it
yes.
needing to be sorted out.
Yeah, yeah. And out of
Hmm.
the person's fear, and maybe we all have our hypothesis of how the world would respond to us. The
Yeah.
body now has created some psychosomatic symptom to
Uh-huh.
sort of align with the hypothesis.
Mhm.
And so my work with this client is really deep attunement and slowing down the process,
Mhm.
doing integrating EMDR. I did some sand tray, but
Mhm.
also hypnosis.
Mhm.
I have a tendency to um, more conversational hypnosis in which the metaphor belongs to the client. So I'm
Mhm.
actually writing their story. It's almost like I'm just piecing together
Mhm.
stories.
Mhm. Beautiful.
And then before I record, I rehearse with the client.
Mhm.
If there's any words I need to change because it's their story, did I
Yeah.
listen? So I would record it and um and I would give them a copy for them to listen to it over and over again. It's kind of like a rewiring of the
Mhm.
story they truly want to tell themselves, not the one that they have currently.
I see.
And so of course it's not just that, it's a combination of attunement first before
Sure.
we got there. I
Yeah.
find myself that I'm always watching myself if I'm walking too fast, or I might find myself like, oh, I
Mm.
walk too fast.
Mm.
And then I will intentionally slow myself um, down if I need to. I'm
Mhm.
constantly watching myself.
Pacing, you're really
Yeah,
attending then to your
yeah,
pacing and rhythm with the client and
yeah.
yeah.
I also find that Zoom sometimes is helpful because
Mm.
I could watch my face, and in some cultures the way the face
Mm.
moves, people can be very
Mm.
sensitive, and they have particular meanings to how the
Yeah,
eyebrows move.
sure.
And so I'm just mindful of
Mm.
how my own
Mhm.
emotions show up. um, and it could be nothing to one person, but it could be everything to the other.
Yes. Yeah.
um, so in going back to this case, to this particular case,
Mhm.
um, the person was also very active, proactive in practicing. And I always teach practice makes permanence. Um, I always do
Practice making permanence.
yeah,
Interesting.
practice
Okay.
makes permanence, right? When you
Okay. Mhm.
practice, it
Yeah.
becomes
Mhm.
um so when I always do parallel practice. So even when I'm facilitating, I'm always doing it while facilitating, mindful that I am. So what I learned from this person is in just supporting the journey of this person, um, is that practice makes permanence. Um, um, the awareness of the therapist of how the pacing is crucial.
Mhm.
Um, that we want to heal, that we have the innate capability
Mm.
to heal, um, and that despite our wounding, we there is maybe I'll just say the universe has many possibilities for um, recovery, in
Mhm.
one form or
Mhm. Mm.
um, the other. So that's just one particular.
Yeah, but it sounds like you really leaned in to attending to how he was pacing to get the story paced with the breath that would be appropriate with him, that you were really leaning in to resonate, and then bringing that to validate through the nonverbal, through the tone in your voice, through the breath and the pacing, what and that the power of healing was within him. And as you said, you're respecting his story, giving it back, not trying to, which is dangerous. Sometimes therapists can steal, appropriate a client's story in even unconscious ways. But the way that you uh, gave up yourself to set aside to be so fully present with him so he could feel his own internal healing possibilities.
Yeah, I think I want to add, Dr. D, that um, it is really true. It's kind of dangerous when whatever modality you're using, that you could infuse your own story, even if you think you're wanting, um, the best for the client.
Yeah.
Um, this word co-transference,
Yes.
right?
Oh,
I
beautiful
always,
word. I love that.
I feel that I really have to open my body, that what I touch touches me. And when I really get that, and some days you notice when you're more tired,
Yeah.
you know, um, but that when you really get that, and you I even allow myself to feel the client's pain in the moment, of course, being aware of boundaries, and
Sure.
just so I could truly sense it, like I'm trying to do my best without while knowing I cannot fully imagine what they're imagining because I'm not them.
Right.
Um, but I am somatically trying to connect with them. That's all. I'm just trying to
Mm-hmm.
witness them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that is
Mm.
um, crucial in the therapeutic
And
process.
empowering. So
Yeah.
that level of presence without ego interfering and being that openness as you describe it. And it is a mind, body, imagination, and spirit kind of wholeness, which is no wonder, as you mentioned, it's draining. There are the quality depth therapy is exhausting, and the level of witnessing to resonate, to be so in attune with in the ritual of therapy. Very, it sounds very empowering. And of course, I hope that your client has found ways of being that have been healing, nurturing, and empowering for him. Um, I wonder if we could pause to find out which two symbols you selected to bring today and what the qualities are, what they mean to you. And yeah, just hold it right up to your camera so we can see. Oh, look at that. Yes. Now describe what you have here for us and what is the meaning for you, the metaphors and the symbolic.
This is what we call kalabaw or carabao, from the Philippines, and I believe this is a farmer.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
and I was just interested that because the farmer, I'll just call him a farmer,
uh-huh.
is being his weight is being supported by the carabao. And when you see the farmer, he has actually a
Oh,
backpack here, which
uh-huh.
also has weight. So his back is supporting the
Mm,
backpack,
mhm,
and there's a lot of symmetry, and there's a lot of supporting and lifting. Even his hat is being supported by um, his head,
yes, uh-huh.
and the feet of the
Mm,
carabao supported by the earth.
mm, mm,
And one can see it interestingly because meanings mean everything the way we perceive things.
sure.
The one might say that the carabao is burdened by the man's weight,
Uh-huh.
or the man is burdened by his backpack.
Yeah, uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But in other ways of seeing, one can also see that the man is lifted by the carabao,
Mhm,
and
mhm,
the hat
mm,
lifts
Mhm.
he has a more of a
Yeah.
height because
Uh-huh.
of
Yeah.
his hat. So
Mm.
I was fascinated by it, the way we see it. One can be burdened and work, one can be lifted,
Yes.
depending on your perception. And I
And
think, yeah,
oh, I'm fascinated with the direction. The caribou is facing one way, and the farmer facing forward. And just getting in tune with what do you imagine they're both thinking or feeling together?
yeah. I just imagine safety.
Mm,
There is balance, everything is being balanced, it's
mm,
like
mm,
there's such symmetry.
mhm, mhm,
Um, and it's almost like you look this way, I see if there's any other animals passing by, and I look this way, and so
mm,
I got your back, and you got
mm.
mine type
Oh,
of language.
sure. Yes. Yeah. Now, if these two they're intimately together, just wonderment. Have they known each other a long time? Um, are they friends? What do you?
Yeah. Actually, ever since the man, the farmer, when he was small, this was his father's carabao. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so his father, just using my imagination, has since
Yes.
passed away.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
since the father's no longer there to lift, um, he is lifted by so many other elements.
Yes.
Um, and so his father lives on, you may say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my. Oh my.
Yeah.
Then here we hear the family therapist within you in connecting the father and son, and then generation after generation, and then of course with the passing, the instinctual, the very being held up by the very instinctual, the animal that was there for the father. And so I'm imagining traditions, and also that blueprint that you were referring to, and the very straight back. This is not slouching. This farmer is in the vision of looking forward. We might imagine that looking forward into the future, and at the same time, the movement of the caribou just being able to look from side to side um, and oh, who knows what's in the backpack. uh, what um, what would you want to place and have him carry in his backpack on this journey?
Ah,
What would you want in there?
we in my language we call it baon. It's like a pack lunch, and obviously there will be rice and
Okay.
something else. We always joke around in my country. Rice is life. We eat rice morning, afternoon, evening,
Uh-huh.
and it's something very sustaining for us. We can't eat without rice. It's like it's kind of, even if we're so hungry and there's like soup, we're like but you forgot the rice.
So
So there's
sustaining
rice.
this
Yeah, very
very
sustaining.
it's
Yeah,
very sustaining and integral to the
yeah.
community. And so, what he has metaphorically on his back is that which will sustain him. The stories that have been told around the mealtime with the rice that he's carrying forward on on the caribou. Uh, this what is the second symbol? And then we're
The
going to see what
second,
happens
yeah.
when these two come together.
Actually, this one is a fertility
Mhm.
sort of icon.
Okay, a little bit more
She's
toward the camera.
because
No,
she's
there you go. And okay, turning her there, yes, we can see her. Uh-huh.
but I didn't really I saw, I mean, being pregnant, obviously, such a beautiful thing. There's just life force there. But talking about life force, I thought about that when we don't fully express our highest vibration, our highest expression, that it's almost like our life force. We're just pregnant, but we're not giving birth. And I think that the manifestation of
Mm,
that could be, one could say, depression or
yes.
anxiety. And it's like,
Mhm,
have you
mhm.
ever seen, right, somebody who's pregnant who never gave birth, and
Isn't
we're
that, oh,
meant to give birth. Our
wow.
creative expression is meant to be a total uh,
Mm, mhm,
blueprint of
mm,
us.
mhm. To give forth, to contribute
Yeah,
to the world and to the community and as well as to bring forth one's arts, one's generation of creativity, the gifts that are absolutely purely from that individual, that she and no one else can give forth that unique essence, like the gift.
yeah.
What does she hold for you in this pregnancy, in this
Mhm.
readiness? What does she hold for you?
Yeah, just I'm always exploring different ideas, Dr. D, like different, classes
Uh-huh.
that I'm, doing for just to share, almost like the backpack here that has
Yes,
rice,
yes,
in which I am sustaining the collective. So I'm always giving birth, basically. And
yes.
and I am aware to truly, because I love being a therapist, and yet we are lifelong students. So I see
Yes.
myself constantly learning, and just like an artist,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't do your art, um, it's hard to teach someone else to, um, or to encourage someone to do
Yeah.
theirs.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so my hope, is that I'm constantly attuning to my own life force,
Mm.
constantly
Mm.
giving birth to my own creativity. So I become what I create, or I create what I become. I don't know which one goes first, but
Both. I
and
mean, but look, there's the
yeah,
circle again. You, Roanne, what would happen now to leave the goddess here in one hand and to bring the farmer back and to notice the holding that we're aware that the backpack and the belly, the uterus, they're both holding precious elements. And so what connections are you making? What is this meaningful encounter right now as they're seeing each other?
for me, it's a reminder for me not to hold back. Um, I am creative in my own space. Um, and as I've shared with you, Dr. D, I do teach in the collective, but there's still something in my voice that I feel, the message for me, that I need to hone, in which when I give birth, others could be a witness to my giving birth too,
Yes.
and that it doesn't have to be in a smaller space. Um, that's
Mm-hmm.
the message for me, is to allow
Mm-hmm.
myself to
Mm-hmm.
um, go deeper,
Mm-hmm.
um, to go further, even, and yeah, that I have the back. That's so true. I
Yeah.
have I'm There's like pockets here that are
Yes.
meant to
Yeah.
serve me, but also maybe support others. Yeah.
It's those two together so emphasize the masculine and the feminine coming together, the instinctual, and then there's the birth giving, which is at the very core of instinctual, and then um, the woman standing there facing the farmer on the animal, and the combination that she too has some on her head there that um, that which they present to the world, but underneath that, the vulnerability and the expanse of humanity, the evolution of humanity from the very beginning of time. She who stands there and is willing to give birth to all future generations. And in that, my minimal, to give birth to the moment to moment of creativity that is Roanne. And then your community work. I would love to introduce our viewers to, if you would mention the kind of community work that you do.
Yeah. In my other part of my work, um, it's almost like I'm talking in general to Filipinos, immigrants, and Filipinos in diaspora,
Uh-huh.
and there's a tension because they speak different languages,
Mhm.
not the language that English,
Right.
but their love languages are very different.
My goodness.
And because the other one, from if you're from the islands, you could be
Mhm.
very somatic. You talk with your body, and in the West, we know that language is very linear. You say, we teach our children, which is great. We teach our children at a very young age, use your words, and I
Mhm.
think that's very useful.
Mhm.
And so I'm trying to find fluency in another language in
Mhm.
which both could be
Mhm.
understood rather than we're misunderstanding each other. So I just started this. I call it the Muni Muni Room. Muni Muni is a Filipino word that means to dream escape, to
To
dream
dream escape.
escape. Yeah, to dream manifest. So, if somebody's still thinking of something and they're not sure, maybe a grandma would say, "Oh, magmuni-muni ka muna." Just kind of dream escape and kind of
Oh.
just dream
Mm.
about it.
Really open up, push back any limits
Yeah.
and be more receptive.
Yes, yes. And just kind of there's a space to just imagine things. It's muni muni. So I have a space in which I usually use imagery and it's just a drop in class. I might talk about grief. I might talk about the feelings of not being good enough. Um, and there's some quiet moments in the class
Mhm.
um, because it's about the personhood of the participant rather than
Yeah,
I'm infusing my own
sure.
in their story.
Mhm.
I also teach in the school district, so I do trainings. And I have the license to be a little weird because that's what I'm hired to teach. Sort of like not the most evidence based, but I do like evidence based, but just creative, innovative,
Mm. Mm.
and community derived um,
Mhm.
practices.
Yes.
And I started doing also what we call neural affective touch therapy. It's actually using touch in therapy.
Mhm.
It's by um, Aileen Lapierre.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I've infused my practice with also
Mm.
touch, not
Mhm.
not massage, it's a touch
Right,
therapy.
right. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, so that's my community work. Sometimes I do
Yes,
courses. Yeah. And
beautiful.
I sometimes, honestly, Dr. D, I forget what I've done because I don't know if you have that same experience. Oh, by the way, I have a course
No,
because I'm
but
just constantly
I
creating.
remember, and you were doing something for the state of California,
Mm,
and it's so vital that you have the courage to take the risk to bring truth embedded, nested in culture, and honoring, respecting, and bringing presence to the very different verbal and nonverbal languages. As you started in the very beginning, there's a difference in cultural worlds when someone lives in the Philippines and someone raised here, for example, with an identity and a heritage, and then all the melding. And so to go in and validate um, the heritage, but also what's unique. Again and again, you've said the uniqueness of the individual story. But I also want to underscore that you're highly intuitive, um, really receptive. You fine tune sensibilities to be in tune with, to resonate with. And so you cannot connect, we cannot connect with another human being unless we bring that deep sense of self, that constant work on being authentic, and that constant deep work of finding our own truth and peeling back the layers of the onion, as it were, and that you do that with your groups, with your classes, with your clients. I believe you infuse then the kind of respectful energy in this array of approaches that you bring. So I just really wanted to highlight the how important it is. I know I hear every day from my graduate students evidence-based and from colleagues, and I have a feeling that too much marketing and sales pitches on what is evidence-based has lost touch with what else is evidence-based, that we are evident humans embedded in culture, in the mythologies, and the very genealogies and archaeologies that you started us with. So that was my 25 cents on being mindful of how persuasive marketing can be and what we really mean by that. And I just want to underscore how much more empowering it is to be so deeply present and so deeply personal and in tune with the stories of those that you work with. How incredibly important creativity is, Roanne. Roanne, I want to go back to the symbols, and then I'm going to go back and forth here and weave and crocheting here our dialogue. But if your symbols were to turn to us, to our viewers, what would they like to say to us? And of course, you're the only one that can hear their voices. So what do you imagine as you take a moment to really listen to, and you have actually three voices there, but what would they want to say to us? What do they want us to understand?
Um, like I mentioned, the Filipino culture is very collectivistic, and any culture there's a shadow and a light side, and but they're both carrying something, and what they're
Yes,
carrying is meant to be shared. I want to say when you amplified um, the something with the head,
yes,
like
that's the little,
yeah, it was so it was so it gave me some ease of like, oh, I could show myself while keeping my
yes,
whatever head covering
yes,
that I
beautiful.
have.
Yes.
Um, but the message is that the universe is conspiring for your health, and that if you have symptoms that are manifesting,
Mhm.
it's because it's wanting to catch your attention. Um, it is saying that, sometimes you might hear just like a kid, right? If the kid is not getting attention, it might just like, mommy, mommy. But if
Mm,
mommy's not paying attention, the voice might get louder and louder
yes.
and louder. And sometimes the body, I'm not saying all kinds of sickness
Yeah.
is coming from a psychological um, source. But what I'm saying is that humans are incredibly um, gifted, and that we are more than we're not robots. We're not measured by our efficiency,
Yeah.
and we're not measured by just evidences.
Mhm.
Um, but there's a soul in every human, and that the the message is you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to carry whatever you're carrying, whatever the farmer's carrying, the woman is carrying. It is
Mhm.
meant to be shared. It is
Wow.
not something. If it's a
Mhm.
burden that you're carrying, what would it look like if it could be shared by other? It could still be a burden, but it's a shared burden.
Yes. Oh, that
And
collective right there, as
yeah.
you've woven that in a couple of times. So, from Filipino and all indigenous cultures, the importance of coming to the community in the circle of healing, to the listeners or to the healers or to the shamans, whoever it is, and telling one story. And of course, we can't separate the body from the mind. Of course, they're informing each other. And so I love that you've brought our attention to that these stories should not be carried alone, but should be shared in safe, trustworthy, positive, nourishing alliances. Yeah.
Mm. Thank you, Dr. B.
Roanne, what do you wish you had learned as an early therapist and as an early teacher working with clients over the years? What do you wish you had been taught or had learned early on?
That to be careful not to be married to any modality.
Well, that's a good
uh,
one. Mhm.
because um, as we know, there is people the what is constant is that we are all different. Um, and also that when something's I feel it's the job of the therapist to be flexible. I always say when I'm teaching, there's no resistant client, only inflexible therapists.
Yeah. Yeah.
That we just kind of are moving, and it's okay. I think what's most helpful is, at least for me, is to weaken my ego.
Mhm.
I am. I feel that's something that we all have, that ego of wanting to be right. But if you can weaken that,
Mhm.
it's crucial, because now you are, when you look at your client, you're not really
Mm.
seeing a part of yourself that wants to be proven right,
Oh.
but it's really
Mm-mm. Yeah.
the part of the client that wants to be a story that wants to be told.
Mm.
And
Mm.
and then you are there to really meet and attune.
Yeah, that
um
attunement, that
yeah,
presence. Yeah.
yeah.
Roanne, as you look at interns and new therapists or reflect on the history of different trainings, what do you wish could be changed to help our preparation for therapists? What do you, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you like to see changed in the system?
Would I like to get changed? That's a I think that let's see. I think more, sometimes there are really therapists that you talked about marketing, but also sometimes find that therapists get burnt out.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and there are great therapists out there, but they
Mhm.
become the best kept secret.
Yeah.
So so I think that some knowledge would, as much as there is, I learned this from someone where, we could not like social media, which I actually don't like social media, but there are people who share a lot of information there, and they
Sure.
are may be harmful information.
Yes.
So it's nice,
Definitely.
yeah, and it's nice if there are also other platforms in which you're marketing um, from a very from a therapist point of view, in which that is authentic.
Yes.
It's also honest, and so that for me, it doesn't matter if someone sees me when we're doing a consult, but I'm giving therapy a chance for that person, because it might not be me, we might not be a good match, but I don't want them to think of therapy as a certain
Mm.
to have a some lingering aftertaste that they
Yeah.
don't
No.
like.
No.
Yeah. So
Extra baggage from the therapist.
yeah,
So
right.
what do you if you could suggest avoiding burnout, what
Yeah.
would you, Roanne, suggest?
To avoid burnout, I think to hang out with therapists who love being a therapist.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Now, I don't mean love being a therapist that you don't have good days and bad days, because we have days where, we're juggling many different things. Um, but therapist that is, because I see that in the media, that there's a lot of therapists that are burnt out.
Yeah.
Um, And if you mindset is also everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you connect with others, find your tribe.
Mm-hmm.
um
Mm-hmm.
if you envision, you have to have a vision of yourself as therapist. Like if you
Yes.
wake up the next day, what would you be doing? What would you
Mm-hmm.
be feeling? Like how
Mm-hmm.
would your office looks like? Who are the clients that I mean, just the
Mm-hmm.
exchange, the look in your those things you want
Mm-hmm.
to kind of envision.
Refresh a
And
little bit. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
and then find a group of people that may not have the exact vision, but they have that similar mindset, in which you
Yeah.
support each other's growth. Um, so I think that would be
Yeah.
um, helpful, and
Yes.
I think just
So validating.
yeah, practice makes, I always say practice. You have to practice because with practice, you gain some humbling, a
Humility.
humble,
Yeah.
yes, humility
Yeah.
and confidence, but it's a quiet confidence. Um, and that you just practice and know that you would not know everything. And
Mm-hmm.
by practice, that's when you begin to really enter the session,
Mm-hmm.
that you
Mm-hmm.
trust the process, that you don't know exactly what to do at
Yeah.
the moment, but you will know,
Yes.
because you
Absolutely.
are in working with the client. You're not solving the client,
Right.
and it's like the client is not alone, and so are you. You are also not alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
Yeah.
terrifying to actually think that there's a slew of referral reason, and that you are the person to solve the problem. I think that really
Mm,
creates a burnout.
I agree. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's for
so
sure. Roanne, before we close, I wonder if you would, sometimes when somebody has a home language, I ask them to share in their home language some nuggets of what our conversation touched on that were important for you, and wisdoms that you'd like to share, speaking at whatever length you wish, but within your home language. You'd be willing to do that right now?
yes, yes.
So, okay, the stage is yours, please.
Okay. Maybe I'll speak in a little Taglish, but yeah, because many of the um, Filipino Americans might. But I'll say it.
Yes.
That maraming form sa paghilom, sa healing. And ang pinakamainam ay humanap ka ng form of therapy na naaayon sa personalidad mo, naaayon sa goal mo. Ang pinakaimportante na malaman mo is that nasa iyo ang kapasidad na ikaw ay maghilom. So you have the capacity to heal at hindi
Mm,
ka nag-iisa.
mm, mm.
Okay, that's the
I
end of it.
love
Yeah.
I love hearing all the languages, and because it comes from the heart and it comes from the very cellular, from birth, before you were even born. All the music of the language of your culture, the Philippines, which is also multicultural. So
Yes.
how rich. um, Roanne, I wonder if you would turn to our viewers now. What is it that you would just like to share in terms of a wisdom, that a wish, that you would like to speak directly to them?
Yeah, my wish is that that there is always a space for playful exploration. And if you weren't given the best childhood, I always say it's never too late to have a happier childhood today, at this moment.
Hmm.
And as I was saying in my native language, there are different forms of healing therapy. It doesn't have to be the therapy that people propose that may be the best, only what is best for you.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm, mm.
And it also doesn't matter if it's the greatest story ever told. It doesn't matter. It has to be the story that belongs to you.
That's
So I hope you find that story. It's there. It was just lost, and you
oh,
can reclaim it. Yeah.
so beautiful and such a pleasure to be with you, Roanne. I appreciate your generosity of time and in sharing your experiences, your intuitions, and your wisdoms. We'll have to do this again and dig into some of those delightful stories that you weave to help us really own and honor. Thank you. And so I want to say goodbye to our viewers, appreciating you being with us also and taking what Roanne has gifted us all to nourish the inner child and to create anew each morning, each new day, a moment in time to honor the child, no matter what your childhood was like, to refresh who you are and who you want to be, and to open up and push back the walls to creativity and imagination, as Roanne has given us a lay, the Hawaiian lay, the lay of the Pacific. Yes, so we can, let's see if I get this right now, that we have language and that our experience in the center of imagination and language helps inform our story and revive and reclaim the truth of our story in wholeness. So thank you all visitors and look forward to seeing you next time. Take very good care.